Hey guys, Outlaw Curtis here from HoldSquare.com, doing our very first #1 initial podcast in our history. Now, I say the word inaugural, but we've been around for a little over 6 years now. March 10th, 2010, I made a little post on the Gearbox official forums looking for people to play Borderlands with, and I had 2 or 3 people that responded and said, hey, that sounds great, let's play. I made some great friends, and from that day to now, after 6 years, we've gone to 5 different websites that we've gotten bigger and better every single time. And now we're a PlayStation gaming community for adults with hundreds of members over 13 countries, 12, 13 countries, something like that. So it's been a really incredible ride. We're a PlayStation gaming community for PlayStation gamers that like to, work as a team, play together, don't take it too seriously. You got to have a headset so you can communicate. That's always important. And you have to be over 21 because who likes getting shown up in Call of Duty by a 14-year-old? So that's always really important. So I've personally, I've been gaming since, the early and mid 70s. Well, not the early 70s. I was born in the early 70s, but the mid to late 70s. My Atari 2600 was my first console. So I've been gaming my whole life for the most part, almost every console that's come out since then. And now the PlayStation 3 and now the PlayStation 4 are my consoles of choice. And, I'm a diehard PlayStation gamer, but I always love thinking about all the old systems and stuff like that. Just to give you an idea of what we're going to do every week. First of all, let me introduce the people that I'm sitting here with. Jordan Aaron here is her PSN ID. Jordan is our vice president of HoldSquare.com. One of the two. Did I say the vice president? Okay, I'm going to get in trouble.
I'm not
for that
the other,
one.
so it's good.
And he is not the other one. They're actually both very attractive females, so which is a little unusual. So, see, Gracie, I said you were attractive. So
it's not unusual.
Gracie is the other one.
It's not unusual at all, actually. It's typical.
Is it typical? Okay.
Typical.
Well, we have a lot of great lady reapers, which is
They
great.
obviously
We're
have some
co-ed.
issues to work out here,
We do.
so.
We'll take care of that off camera.
Yeah.
We'll leave that on the cutting room floor. That'll be on the DVD, the extended alternate ending. But anyway, so Jordan, you joined the Reapers officially, I don't know, a couple of years ago, but I've known you ever since playing DC Universe.
Yeah, when it very first came out.
Yeah.
Like a few months after.
I know, right after it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've known Kurt for years. Whenever DC Universe came out, that's how long.
Mm-hmm.
I've known. What was it?
January 2011 is when.
Oh,
yeah.
Whenever the heck that was.
January 2011. Yep.
That was a long time ago.
Great game, DC
Long
Universe.
time.
I've actually played that.
Is that actually one of the current games you played?
Yes, it is.
We have stumbled across one. We're gonna get to you in a second, buddy. we got a bone to pick with you.
Yeah.
All right. So we've known each other for 5 years and
Something like that. Yeah, it's been a while for sure. I've played with Reapers for a really long time. Kurt just finally pestered the crap out of me a few years ago to actually get online and sign up and become a Reaper, and ever since then I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna get in here and play. I really, don't want to be involved in running a league again and doing all that. And he was like, okay, no, you just come on in and play. And then look where we are.
The whole time I was rubbing my hands together and just like, it's just come on in. You don't have to do anything, Jordan. You can just hang out, relax. It takes notes. She does. She has like a whole thing here.
I have notes. So I've been playing with the Reapers for a really long time. Been playing video games since I could hold a controller. Probably not very well this first few years. I mean, I probably thought it was really well, but it probably wasn't really well at 2 or 3. But
rattle in one hand, controller in the other.
Right, exactly.
Like, your grandpa's like, why is this not working? And you finds out I've been blowing in the inside of the NES console for so long trying to get games to work.
Get games to work.
At that point.
Those are the good old days, blowing into cartridges. Get them to work. I'm glad those days are behind us, frankly.
Yeah, that's not exactly on the resume. I'm really good at blowing into cartridges.
Your technical expertise.
Anyway, I've been playing video games for a really long time, and I actually was an avid Xbox player for a really long time. Even wrote papers in college about how I thought the Xbox was better, and then got a PS3.
Wrote papers in college about
I did about how it was better. And
why am I just now hearing this?
I figured it'd be good. It'd be entertaining. And then actually got a PS3, and my life was completely changed. I got the PS3 because I wanted to play DC Universe. and got that.
A lot of people did. It was a console seller. DC Universe was a big console seller.
It was huge. So it was Little Big Planet and DC Universe and some stuff.
And
like
Little
that.
Big Planet, that's another console seller for PlayStation for sure.
Pretty big. So that's just a snippet about me. My
well, Jordan's a good friend of mine. I'm lucky to be able to call her a good friend of mine. And essentially, what this podcast is going to be is just basically our normal conversations with a camera in front of us. So this will just be the way we normally talk about video games and things we normally do. My other friend here is Brett Weiss. Brett Weiss I've known for years. Noted video game author. You've actually got your latest copy of your book right there. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Brett.
Brett Weiss. I've been gaming since the dawn of man.
The dawn of man. You
Mid-seven-
said the Fairchild earlier, and that's one I knew about, but I never touched a Fairchild before.
That's what she said.
And then
Okay.
Did she really?
I started gaming in the mid-'70s. Skating rinks, bowling alleys, playing Midway's Gunfight, Breakout, loved pinball. My brother and I used to play pinball. We were so good we could pop games, and we would sell those to play video games because video games most of them didn't last very long, so you need a lot of quarters.
Oh, yeah.
He was a hustler at a young age.
He was a
Yeah.
That's what he was, a
Pretty
video
much.
game hustler, a
wizard
pinball
at-
hustler.
at,
That's right.
7, 8 years old. But anyway, so we played a lot of pinball, a lot of video games. In 1976, the Fairchild Channel F, the first programmable game console for the home, came out. And my two best friends got that. Then 77, the Atari 2600 came out. And I would go to my friend's house and play. I finally, in 1982, Christmas, I got my own video game console, the ColecoVision. And it was one of the greatest days of my life. Christmas 1982, I stayed up all night playing Donkey Kong and Mousetrap. And pretty much since then, I've kept current with every gaming console. I went back and picked up the game systems I didn't have through garage sales or whatever. And then when the NES came out in the U.S., test release in 85, and then, all over the country in 86. So I got an NES, Genesis in 89, Super Nintendo in 91. And I pretty much kept current with every console since. Ironically, with the exception of the PlayStation 4.
Right. You've kept really current, except like now,
Right.
except the ones now. So,
Yeah.
and the PlayStation 4, which we're going to have to remedy that at some point. So,
Well, I'm a retro gamer, but I play a lot of new games too, so.
Well, the idea.
I say a lot, but a select few that I'm really interested in. But anyway.
Well, hopefully, the idea with our podcast is that we're going to hopefully educate each other in different ways, and Jordan and I are a little more with PlayStation 4 obviously, and HoldSquare and what's out right now, what's current, what's hot, what's coming out, stuff like that. And so hopefully we can educate you a little bit on some of that, and then you've got so much knowledge, and I've read this particular book of yours twice, and it literally is one of my favorite books. Some of the stories in there about the development cycles and behind the scenes anecdotal stuff about different games and how they were developed, because I'm a big video game historian too. I love hearing about that stuff, and my first console was the Atari 2600, and I am the master of Atari 2600 on pinball. Now, I think I showed you one time, but I need to get back on there in video because I can literally make the ball go up and down through this particular scoring thing for eternity. I can roll the machine.
I'm sure that would make for a compelling video.
No, I think it'd be a really good podcast, a 4-hour podcast. I think everyone would really... just the ball going dump it down. I think everybody would love it.
On that.
All right, so anyway, let's get started here talking about a couple different things. First of all, what are you playing right now, Jordan? What's...
I am neck deep in the Division. I'm not gonna lie.
That's what most of us are into right now. Yeah.
I actually was not planning on getting that game because I am one of those that I don't want my video games to be so ultra realistic that it reminds me too much of real life.
Yeah, you're trying to escape from real life, right?
Escape from real life.
Is your real life so bad you have to escape from it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's awful. No, I'm totally kidding.
I know what you mean.
My life's great.
If you saw her two corgis, her two dogs, you would see she's got a stressful real life.
Oh, okay.
Just drama constantly, just running around in circles, just corgi hair everywhere. It's
right,
nuts.
corgi hair everywhere.
No, but seriously,
Everywhere.
one of the best things about video games is just at the end of a long day or a stressful day, chilling out and just escaping into that world.
Yeah, just
temporarily.
chilling out and escaping. And really didn't think that this was going to be one of those games I would get really into, but I almost kind of feel like, and I don't mean to piss anybody off with this kind of a comment, but I almost feel like they really took kind of a hint from a few other games that were either inventory based, like almost like scavenging kind of games, and the idea of the loot system being colored the same way Borderlands loot system is covered. and just there's a few games that it really feels like they pulled a little bit from, whether it was just like the gameplay itself or the way the characters move. So I really just kind of feel like it's really hitting home, I think.
So what is Division? Are we talking a first-person shooter, or
it's a third person?
Third person.
It is a third person.
Okay.
No, I was gonna say, it's a third person shooter, and what Jordan was talking about, they really did. It's Tom Clancy's The Division, first of all. So, Tom Clancy, you already know kind of what you're going to get from get-go when you hear that. You know, Rainbow Six just came out a few weeks ago, so you've got that. And then, of course, all of his books and movies everyone's familiar with, Hunt for Red October, all that kind of stuff.
Military style.
It's always going to be military. He's got a deep military background. He knows his stuff whenever he's telling stories about military and special ops and all that kind of stuff. And so basically...
The late, great Tom Clancy.
The late, great, that's right. When did he... When did he
died a few years.
Was it a few years ago? Has it been that long?
Maybe a couple of years, something like that.
Yeah, I know he's passed away, but there's still he's got this whole franchise, and I'm not sure what it's worth. But now there's still his name is still attached to it and stuff like that. But what she's talking about from a realism standpoint is the whole fact that it takes place in New York. And on Black Friday, somebody has infected some dollar bills with a virus, and it spreads because of Black Friday, and money's changing hands and everything. Wow. And so this pandemic.
To give the terrorists an idea.
Well, see, but that's the thing. When this stuff comes out, I'm like, okay, I think they've probably already thought of this, but I'm not sure how comfortable I am with this because we literally might be giving terrorists ideas. But
and it's just so realistic. You're literally walking the streets of New York, and it's just been completely
ransacked. They've closed off the whole city. Not even the military will go in anymore. It's so dangerous. And so they activate this division, which is a group of embedded agents that is like, this is who we call as the last resort.
Sounds like you need Snake Plissken.
You do kind of and that is kind of the deal because in the intro, which the intro to it gives me chills, and it's like where you're
actual video.
Yeah, and it's video. It's like we're your neighbors, we're your friends. But when we get the call, and they all have a watch with a circle on it, and when it starts beeping, they've been activated, and they drop whatever they're doing, and they're like, we have no rules, we have no limits, our job is to protect what remains, and that's it. And so that's the whole thing. So you're going through the streets where there's gangs running around, everything's been looted, everything's on fire, and there's explosions going off and stuff, and so it's really an immersive world. I mean, and it's one of those that you play it long enough, it's almost like the Demon Souls and Dark Souls games where it can almost be oppressive in a way. After I play it for 2 or 3 hours, it's like
you feel depressed.
Yeah, it's like okay, I need to go.
This is making me really sad because there's like stray dogs walking around. There's people literally NPC characters. Well, not even that. Just like the computer programming of people walking in front of you, like reaching out to you, and then literally dropping dead. Like,
wow. Yeah, AI is really
it's
good.
It's
intense.
And it's from starvation, and it's from like there's this like 5% of the people left that weren't affected by the disease that are literally just trying to survive.
Does it have a co-op component, like an online?
Yeah,
it's all co-op, and that's a big reason that because in our community, everyone that kind of gravitates towards HoldSquare are like we said earlier, they're adult-based gamers that enjoy cooperative and multiplayer. You're playing with other people of like mind, and that's what's great about the Division is that you can have a 4-man fire team, and there's different missions you can do. And almost from the beginning, you got to play through the tutorial by yourself solo. Yeah. But then once the tutorial is over, boom, you can start joining each other's games. You can invite.
Screen or?
Well, there's no local co-op. Is there? Is there local co-op? I don't think there's couch co-op. It's all multiplayer. It's all online. Yeah. And so, but the nice thing, what Jordan was talking about the Division, is that they took different aspects of different games. Like it's the third person shooter aspect, which isn't revolutionary. Uncharted, all these different ones do the third person shooter. But Grand Theft Auto, that's definitely an influence. But they added the loot system, so it's very loot based, and the RPG elements they added to it too. So there's this you're always trying to find that better gun. And the next enemy you kill could drop that orange weapon that you've been looking for. And that's part of the addiction.
Is it linear at all, or is it all just open world?
It's very open world. Yeah, it's not linear. And that's you mentioned in the linear aspect of it, that's the one weakness the game has in my opinion, is just from a storytelling standpoint. Anytime you have an open world game like that, it's hard to tell a real tight story.
Right.
Because you can go off for 5 hours looking for, radar dishes that you have to collect, or phones that you have to collect and stuff. So, whereas the Uncharted series is a lot more linear, it's a lot easier to tell a story that way because you're leading the player by the nose essentially. Yeah. This is fun, but it's a different.
How long has it been out?
Couple weeks.
Wow.
Maybe.
Couple weeks. Yeah.
A couple weeks.
That's cool.
Well, and one thing that Kurt was saying too, as far as that story goes, I literally spent all day yesterday going and getting like all of this intel that's dropped from the game, and so this story is pieced together from intel that's either on the ground in forms of a laptop or a disc or something like that you're picking up, trying to literally, from the perspective of just military that's been pulled from who knows where, coming in, trying to figure out what the F happened. It's literally, aren't you proud of me?
I am. I don't even have the bat here.
Trying to figure out what happened, and it's always kind of difficult paying attention to stuff like that because the funnest part of this game is playing with other people. And so whenever you finally unlock everything, you can go back into one of your menus and look at all of your intel.
Right. And watch all the videos.
To get cool because then it's all in order. Yeah. So you can pick up stuff out of order and you're like, what the heck is going on here? But then when you go back after you've collected everything, you can see how the story pieces together and you literally have an, oh my God, moment. And when you see how literally interesting it is the way that they've done this. Because there's literally, and not to give too much away, but you are the second wave of division agents coming in to help do this job, because the first wave either had an issue with people defecting or they're dead,
going rogue,
or
and
something like
all
that.
Stuff,
and so with this first wave going rogue, it accesses this whole new, and I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb here and say this, a very innovative way to do player versus player. And the fact that they have mapped off the entire middle area of New York where it all went down. The very first part of this virus came to be with the dollar bill and everything else. And so it got so out of control, they literally put up barriers and locked everybody in. And it was kind of a fend for yourself. There's dead bodies everywhere. It can be very graphic at times because you're walking around and you look down and there's like charred bodies everywhere. And so they access a whole new part of the story where they bring in literally NPCs that have either they're just rioters or they're military that has decided that they're just going to come in and take care of this how they want. They're kind of defected military. And then there's like these people called the cleaners that come in too, and they think that the way that this is going to happen is they're
hate those dudes.
Hate the cleaners.
They're going to burn everything.
Flamethrowers, man. Flamethrowers. They got flamethrowers. You run into 5 or 6 of those dudes, and it ruins your whole week. So yeah, it's no good.
Dead a lot.
It's funny you mentioned the Dark Zone, because that kind of wrapping up about the division here, but probably the most controversial thing, if you want to stir up a conversation with people, is start talking about the Dark Zone, because the Dark Zone is the area she's talking about. That's the PvP area of this game. And you basically go in there and you can be kind of friendly with other people. You can go in there with a group of 4. It's best don't go into the Dark Zone alone, first of all, because you're a target.
Molly said, don't go into the Dark Zone alone.
That's right, exactly. You don't want to.
Right.
And so there's this. It is an innovative way and it's fun, but I wonder about some of the design elements of it. But basically, anytime a weapon is dropped off of an enemy in the Dark Zone, you pick it up. You can't just take it out with you. You have to extract it. It's contaminated, basically.
Right.
So to do that, you store these weapons in a yellow backpack on your back. So right then, as soon as the yellow, a fanny pack, right? As soon as that appears on you, people know that guy has loot that he wants to extract. So if I kill him, I can get what's in his pack. So if you shoot at another player in there, you, quote, go rogue. So everyone on the map knows, okay, that dude just went rogue. So now there's kind of a bounty on his head, so to speak.
It's like a manhunt.
So, and you can accidentally, if you're shooting at an NPC and I accidentally hit another player, I'm like, crap, I just went rogue, and now everyone's chasing me. So
there's co-op and competitive?
There's co-op and competitive, and part of it, there's been a lot of griefing that's been going on in there. And you'll get groups of, like, you'll get 2 guys that'll join in as a group together, and then they'll split. They'll each invite 3 people. So now you've got basically an 8-man group, which is kind of countermanding the system. You're only supposed to be able to have 4, but they essentially are communicating.
You're pulling a Kobayashi Maru and cheating the system.
Right, you are. Kobayashi Maru, that's a great example. Change the rules.
Right.
So anyway, so now you've got this 8-man group, which the server can only hold. I don't know what the server can hold, but it can't be more than 16 or 24. So you've got all these people, and if you're in there by yourself or with 1 or 2 people, you can just continually get killed, and then you respawn and they kill you again and kill you again and kill you. And you can't just teleport out of the dark zone. You have to get to an exit point. So there's no really griefing or reporting system. So I know a lot of people have been frustrated because they've gone in there
extraction, like you said, the extraction aspect of it too is there's certain designated areas to extract what you find,
and people camp those, and
people
wait, and then when your flare goes up, that hey, I'm calling in a chopper. It takes a minute and a half for the chopper to come in and take your weapons.
It seems
out.
like a game that would invoke some trash talking.
It does get that. You just don't go in there alone.
Well, Ubisoft actually had a little bit of an issue at the beginning because they almost, when they created this, as far as PvP, wanted that little bit of a pandemonium when it came to the dark zone. They wanted that.
Yeah,
they
and
wanted
it's fun.
people to
It
get
can
nervous.
be really fun.
And at the beginning, whenever this game first dropped, you were penalized so much by getting killed when you went rogue that you lost so much experience. And there's levels that you can gain when you're in the dark zone to kind of give you an idea of how long you've been in there. That's separate from your in-game leveling. And people were getting penalized so much that nobody was going rogue. And so it was like this PvP area that nobody was using.
Everybody was scared to.
Everybody was too worried
Right.
to PvP, literally. And so with this last update that we had, they're kind of trying to up the incentive a little bit as far as the whole going rogue aspect of things. And people are doing it a little bit easier now because it's not taking quite as much from you. But it's still interesting to see, like, okay, who's just bored enough? They've been playing this game long enough where all they have now is going rogue. And so depending on what time of the day that you play and how populated the server is that you get on for any reason at all, you will find either complete pandemonium or you will find you'll
at
be
least
bored.
people go.
So it's kind of an interesting mix, and it's pretty interesting. So think Grand Theft Auto open world PvP where you can just walk up and shoot another player, but they've condensed it into one area so people can actually work the story. That want to work the story around the main edges of New York, and then the very central area is that wild PvP.
In short, we've come a long way from a little dot going back and forth across
a long
the screen.
way, a long way. Although there's a game out right now on PSN, and one of the things we'll talk about too is we'll talk about obviously if you're playing multiplayer on PS4, you are a PS Plus member. So every month we get free games on the PlayStation Network. They give you 1 or 2 free games. And this month, I know a game that is near and dear to your heart, and I've played it some too, is Broforce.
Yes.
And
awesome.
that's been a lot of fun. Brett, that's definitely one that would be one of your first purchases whenever you get your PS4, because it's that it's that 16, 32-bit side-scrolling Metal Slug Contra kind of looking game.
Yeah, I saw some footage from E3. Last year at E3, they showed some footage of it, and the first thing I thought was Contra meets Metal Slug meets something new.
Yeah,
it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, well, and the humor in it is the best part of that game. The humor. I mean,
they got Metal Slug had a lot of humor.
It's just hilarious. It's hilarious. Well, because they've taken
everyone's name's got bro in it. First
heroes,
of all,
it's bros from all of the big major franchise movies.
No hoes, just bros.
I don't know about that. There are some of those
there's
too.
A couple of those in there too. But I mean, it's like you can play with Neo.
Is
Ho
Force going to be the sequel to that? I think Ho Force, that'll be the sequel. Yeah, come up with that.
All this, but it's really funny.
Awesome.
It's super funny. I mean, just
we've got B.A. Brorakis. Is that one of the guys, Mr. T? Yeah, from the A Team, and then Chuck Norris is Brodell Brodell Walker.
And of course, he wins every time because he's Chuck Norris.
Well, of course. I don't know who's your favorite character on there. Who's the one you like to?
Blade, but I don't remember what his
Blade, the Marvel.
Yeah.
Blade.
Yeah. The vampire dude.
What his bro
name is?
I don't remember.
And there's like Sylvester Stallone.
He should be Bro the Vampire Slayer.
Right. Yeah.
There's a little bit of everything, literally. Right. Like it's pretty fun. The chick from Kill Bill, I forgot her character name.
Yeah.
Uma Thurman's
character. Yeah, she's in there.
Isn't it? It's really fun.
Yeah.
It's really a lot of fun. I mean, it's 4-player co-op.
Sounds
cool. So that's the mayhem of it.
And it was just free to pay it for a limited amount of time.
Yeah. I think the sticker price on it was $14.99, and then basically during that month, they're like, okay, for the month of March, these are your 2 free games, and you can download them, and then as long as you're a PS Plus member, you have access to them. You can play them. So
that just typifies the era we're living in. You give these companies, regardless if it's books, video games, music, you give the customers some free stuff. And you string them along until they buy stuff.
Right.
Or, if you want this free stuff, you have to buy this stuff.
Right.
So the free content is definitely the model these days.
And it's part 2 of the whole microtransaction kind of movement in video games now, where and a lot of companies, and DC Universe went to this model where when the game came out, it was $60, and you bought it on disc and everything else.
Right.
Then they changed the business model and said, you can download the game for free now. But if you basically want to go past level 30, you have to, get this subscription. And then, by the way, you can buy these tokens and these tokens for 99 cents.
Right.
And you think, oh, this is a great deal. And then you look at your purchases the last month and 99 cents 18 times. It's like it adds up, but it must be a smart business model because more and more video game, distributors and developers are moving to it. So
it's a moneymaker for sure, but it frustrates a lot.
Oh, yeah, there's been a lot of blowback about microtransactions and updates and all that stuff.
Well, because it just makes it to where people, literally day 1 player, can come in at level 0 and push his way to whatever level and be as good as the people that have been playing for 2 years.
Right.
Because he's paid his way to being that good.
Because he bought it. Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of before when people were buying like World of Warcraft.
Oh my gosh! People selling them on eBay.
On eBay,
selling characters on eBay for $1,500 and stuff.
Yeah, that's insane.
There are people buying this. They must be, or they wouldn't be selling it. So
yeah.
So what's the next game you're going to be getting into?
Oh,
I have an idea. Okay, this is called a setup. I'm setting you up here.
They don't know though. So
they don't know.
You better actually mention the title.
No. I'm sure she will.
I am stoked beyond belief for the beginning of May when Battleborn drops, and I am a huge Gearbox whore. I'll admit it. I will admit it. I love everything that they put out, almost, and I literally am so super stoked. From when we actually went to go tour the facility and had to sign NDAs saying we wouldn't say anything about all their artwork, and them literally working 10 feet from us on the gameplay of this game, and it just was super exciting to get to see that. I'd never seen anything like that before. Literally people just working everywhere on a.
Is that your username, Gearbox Horror?
It really
Gearbox Bid.
It really should have been. Totally.
Gearbox Set. We'll keep it PG. Gearbox Set.
Yeah, there you go.
For the cut version of it.
Well, when we went last year to the Gearbox offices before they moved into their new offices. Now we interviewed Randy
Plano,
Pitchford.
right? Plano, Texas.
Yeah. Well, they're in Frisco now. Their new offices are in Frisco. They bought a building and have beautiful new offices. But they were in Dallas or Plano. I don't know if it was considered Plano or Richardson, but right over there off 75. And
I think it might have been Richardson.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, I think it might have been. But but we went over there and interviewed Randy Pitchford. He was awesome. We've got the interview up on our website.
Cool.
And it was really cool going in and seeing the development cycle because at that point we were going in only really talking about the Borderlands Handsome Collection had just come out, and on PS4 we were talking about that, and they were starting to talk about Battleborn, and we had heard a little bit about it, but hadn't really. Tell us more about this.
What is going
and
on?
We kind of walked through and saw concept art and seeing it in that process, and now seeing it now that we've played a beta. And seeing it kind of come to fruition, all that stuff we saw before has really been a cool process because Battleborn, when Gearbox came out with Borderlands, it was pretty unique. It took the loot elements from Diablo. It took the first person shooting elements. It made it a cartoon type of environment, which was cool graphic wise. We'd never seen that. So they kind of melded 2 or 3 different things to make this hybrid that's just been incredibly popular.
I remember when the game came out, Gearbox had a big release party, and I mean it was a really big deal.
It was huge, and then it did so well. Borderlands 2 came out, which to this day is my favorite game of all time.
Wow. Hey, I represented today. I thought it was appropriate.
I will take that to the grave. It is my absolute favorite video game of all time.
Cool.
The humor, they figured out, Gearbox did what their niche, I think, in the video game world was really going to be with all of this. Because, I don't know, some of their games and some stuff that they'd done in the past had been, kind of, and then they really just broke through with.
That was their first really. I mean, they did stuff before Borderlands, but I think
they did work on Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
And nobody ever really gives them they did a massive amount of work on Counter-Strike, actually. And, and the first and the second, the 2000 and then 2004 version when it really got popular. And nobody really gives them a lot of, shebang for that kind of thing, which is...
Everybody needs more shebang.
Absolutely.
Needs more shebang.
Well, I think what Gearbox is good at, what they've proven, is that they're good mad scientists. That's what they are. Taking these different things and like genetically engineering these things that we've never really seen quite like that before, and that's what Battleborn's going to be about.
It's going to be unbelievably impressive, and please stop me if I start rambling because I'm really excited.
When does it come out?
It comes out May 3rd. May 3rd? Yeah.
May the 3rd be with you.
May the 3rd. They've pushed it back a couple times. So we've had to kind of play with this a little bit. The open beta for PS4, April 8th, I believe. April 8th. It's a 10-day beta. So anybody can actually play it that didn't get a chance to play the closed beta from before. So that'll be pretty cool. But it's really unique, and what they've done is they've gotten really good at taking what they like from other games and kind of making it their own. And so a huge character base that they can play from. So there's over 25 playable characters.
Yeah, 25. I was trying to think of this the other day. I don't know that I've ever heard of a game.
Most
games give you like 4 playable characters or 6 or something.
Like Smite or some things like that where you literally have like 300 that you can choose from, customizable from an actual game that was made for a console.
And for a console, yeah.
It's kind of unheard of, and I think
first-person shooter.
It's first-person shooter meets MOBA, is really literally what this game is, and nobody's done that yet, and so it's kind of interesting to see how this all is gonna work out. So it's gonna be really interesting. There's 5-player co-op on a story mode, an actual story mode, which is I think the one thing that really makes Battleborn and the other game coming out around the same time that Blizzard is doing, Overwatch, there's been a lot of word in the Reapers about which game is going to be better and everything else, and I'm going to have to play both of them before I think I can actually form a good opinion on that kind of thing. But I think the thing that makes them stand apart is that Battleborn actually has a story mode. And from what I've looked, and I've been digging as far as Overwatch goes, we'll have to look too, but it's really just online player versus player kind of a situation. So this is the first time I think that Blizzard has done a first-person shooter. Am I completely right on that? Like everywhere I was looking, I was kind of
That's a good question. I'm not sure what the answer to that is.
It seems like this is one of the first ones that they've really, an online multiplayer first-person shooter, the first time Blizzard's really done it. And so both games coming from these perspectives of this is the first time they're doing this. So first time Gearbox is doing more of a MOBA game really geared towards player versus player. Because they're famous for their story modes. They're famous for their humor in their story mode that comes through with stuff. And so they're kind of gearing more towards the PvP aspect of stuff. And then this is the first time Blizzard is doing a first-person shooter. So it's going to be interesting to see which one.
Well, we were having a conversation the other day about which character you're going to use and stuff, and this is kind of a little bit about what we were talking earlier, but one of the main characters I liked when I played the beta in Battleborn was the chick with the bow and arrow, and I thought she was really fun to play with.
You mean the female protagonist? Not
right. Did I say chick?
Yeah, it's
I don't think I said
Easter
chick.
was yesterday.
I wouldn't say. Yeah, I wouldn't. I would never say that.
I know what you mean.
The female protagonist. That's good. That's a good one. So that reminds me of a question I was going to ask you, Jordan, because Brett and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. But whenever you can customize, whenever you can make your games and make your characters however you want them, especially in RPGs and stuff, are you always? I remember Nixus, your character in DC Universe, was a female.
Always female.
What's your? Are you always rolling the female characters?
Always. I don't know if I've ever specifically rolled a male unless I had to. Like if it was a had to roll a male character kind of thing, I would. But I've always been.
Well, back in the day, Mass Effect, you had to play as Shepard, and then in Mass Effect 3, they finally made it to where you could be a male or female version, which I know a lot of people were excited about with Mass Effect. But do you try to make her look like you? Is it like your avatar, or do you just like give her a mohawk?
Her look as hot as possible. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say no. Usually, she's like some kind of crazy, way over made up red flaming hair kind of a situation is usually kind of that's what Nixus was. as far as DC
just
was,
off the deep end.
Just off the deep
well, but
end,
that's a
wild
superhero
makeup.
game, and superheroes, you're kind of trying to push the envelope sometimes and stuff.
My
Most of
character in Borderlands has got neon hair right now. Neon, like, wild blue neon hair. But I tried to make my Division character as outlandish as possible, but all of the women look like they've been hit by trucks. So that's a little hard.
Well, there was somebody telling me the other day that he always makes a female character in RPGs because if he's got to look at someone for
Lopez.
60 or 80 hours, it might have been Lopez
Probably
actually.
Lopez.
Now that I think about it, that if he's
Shout
gonna,
out Lopez.
I'm not sure what that says about you psychologically, but it says something. I don't know what it is. I'm not a
want
psychologist,
something nice to look at from the back. Usually.
but that's not why I play a video game. Is to look at that.
There's other channels for that.
There are other games
Right.
you can get into. But when I make a video game character, 95% of the time I make it look like me. I give it white skin, I give it red hair, I give it blue eyes, I make it tall. I try to make it look like my representation in the game. Now every once in a while I'll just kind of get tired of it and I'll just whatever. I'll just make some short, Chinese guy or something, or Chinese chick or something like that, female.
Straight to Asian.
But
Straight Asian.
but yeah, just sometimes,
even.
but most of the time I try to make it look like me.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you normally roll with?
I don't know. It depends. Like with some of the fighting games, like
Dead or
Street
Alive?
Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, stuff like. Well, Dead or Alive, yeah, that's a good example. But
Yeah,
where you have options of
Right.
male or female. I don't know. I kind of lean towards picking the female. I don't know why. But
Why?
I don't know. Maybe it's the whole looking at them thing. No, but some of those older games,
Truth comes out.
they're just boxy anyway, so it doesn't matter.
right.
But
Yeah, you can't really tell.
Anyway,
Which 8-bit character are you going to play?
Yeah, well,
the
which
pink
8-bit
one or the blue one?
Which one is the pink or the blue one? Yeah,
Well,
Mr. or Mrs. Pac-Man.
When I made my when I first got my Wii system and made my me, it looked like it was as close to me as possible.
yeah, you're
So,
me.
I
Yeah,
didn't-
you make that as.
I didn't make myself into a girl, so that's probably that. Hopefully that.
I played with either like Snoopy or Woodstock. Like that's what I wanted. I wanted one of the ones that didn't look anything like.
Oh, it was incredible
how the people
like,
would get real creative with all of that.
when the Wii came out,
Yeah.
fan-made Mii's that look like celebrities and things. It's
It was
like, how are
awesome.
they doing that with just those
It was
those
awesome.
tools? It was really.
There's some.
You're
yeah.
suspicious?
No.
You
no,
think
no,
they were taking?
No.
Yeah.
It's amazing what some of the people do with some of those tools now and how they can use the different shapes and stuff. There's a thing on Call of Duty where you have to you can make a banner for yourself, and you have these, you have circles and triangles and stuff you can use of differing sizes, and people get on there and make this, awesome, silhouette of Darth Vader and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, man, some people really get into that, the
Right.
creative aspect of stuff.
Well,
and,
some people will spend several hours creating their character or whatever before they even start playing a game.
see that I
have time
don't.
for that.
Yeah,
See,
and I had
grew
this.
up playing The Sims. Like I played if it was a video game and I could play it, I would. And once
Yeah.
I figured out this was like you could create this person and control everything about them, I was like, oh well, yeah. I mean,
So you would
I'm just gonna
customize.
do that.
You
So
like customization.
that's like
and-
my favorite part is actually the creating, like how this kind of works, which is why I'm big into Minecraft, by the way.
Right.
Which I think you would probably like, Mr. Retro Gamer.
You would
I hear,
like Minecraft.
can stack a
Nintendo
lot of
actually
shit on
sent
top
me
of each
the
other.
the code for Minecraft for my Wii U, and I've just never gotten around to playing it yet. I just,
Oh, it's a blast.
just hadn't gotten to it.
Oh,
I
it's a
hear I like
blast.
it. Some people say I'll love it, and some people say I'll hate it. Because I tend to like games that you plug in and play, and it's pretty obvious what you do immediately, and you're just intense action right away. That's kind of why I like old school games.
It's not.
But
It's
then with
not
Minecraft,
that.
there's a lot of setup and building, and I
Yeah, it's a niche game for
Mm-hmm.
me. It's a change of pace game for me.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I'm tired of the Division, or I'm tired
Yeah.
of Call of Duty Zombies,
just
or
kick back
something.
and-
Yeah,
yeah.
it's incredibly. The two things it is that I like about it. It's incredible. It can be an incredibly social game, which is great because you can
8
have
different people.
8 people in your world, and you're all working on projects together, or you can
Mm-hmm.
all just separate and go work on different projects in the same world, and you're all talking at the same time, and that
Right.
social aspect of it. And
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'll come over and help you mine for this, and why don't you come help me with this roof over here? So
Because
Right.
the
it's
idea
very
is you want to be as creative as possible. So
Yeah.
exactly.
like I'm gonna build this house, and it's gonna be maybe this color with some of this, and then you've got to start figuring out, okay, well, where can I get materials that are this color, or where can I get this kind of wood versus this kind, or where
Yeah.
can I build something that's gonna stand up to Joe Schmo that's building
I'm probably
next to
leaning
me.
towards that I wouldn't like it because
Well, but see,
I've never liked like God games or world building games. I've never cared anything.
You
about
like
this.
you like to be locked down and focused
linear,
on a linear.
And I get out there and stuff. You know,
you like the
enemies are coming out at me
shackles. You want to be
away.
shackled down and
exactly.
You
I don't know
break
what
the
that says about
shackles
me.
and yeah.
I like I like an immediate experience where you are running for your life from the get-go. You plug in the cartridge and boom, you've got to get away from the monster or do this.
I gotta get you a PS4 and we gotta get you in Call of Duty Zombies. That's what we need to get. Oh yeah, immediate, get in there and run for your life from the get-go. Yeah,
right.
that's
modern-ish games that I've played that I really love that have that element of nonstop action and pretty linear, like Resident Evil 4 for the GameCube. I absolutely loved. God of War 1 and 2.
God of War, yeah.
Heck out of love those games.
The God of War franchise is amazing.
Did you play the BioShock series?
I played the first BioShock and liked it a lot. I thought it was great.
Awesome.
Fantastic. And it was definitely a sort of a new slant on first-person shooters. And
wonderful.
I'm not a huge first-person shooter fan, but I like BioShock a lot. Absolutely loved Halo when it came out because the controls were so intuitive.
Right.
First-person shooters, for some reason, that just control setup. I'm not like when I play. The times I have played like with other players first person, I just get murdered because I'm just not good with those controllers. But there's been a few I like. I like Dark Forces. I don't know if you ever played that. It was a Star Wars game for the Mac, and then it was for other PS1. It was on that.
I don't know if I played Dark Forces.
Yeah, it's a really cool FPS for 90s era, mid 90s.
Huh.
And but anyway, just last night I finished Bayonetta on the Wii U.
Wow.
Bayonetta is
just an
awesome
incredible game. I absolutely love it.
Some of the best. Bayonetta, right there with God of War, has some of the best combat ever, I think. And DC Universe took heavily from God of War and that type of combat system, but Bayonetta, I mean, just the story's ludicrous. It's ridiculous. A lot of the story behind it and stuff like that, but just from the combat standpoint, the controls,
and it's extremely stylish.
Very stylish. Yeah,
the way BioShock sort of created its own
look and feel to
from it, like it has that kind of retro
steampunk,
kind of has a
steampunk, yeah.
But it has, when you hear and see BioShock, you immediately know what it is.
Yeah,
no matter what scene it's in.
1920s kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go out someplace and if you've played any of the BioShock series, I saw somebody upload a few pictures the other day where it was like a Splicer cosplay. So they had those 20s scary masks on with the blood spatter and everything else, and you looked at them and you're like, oh my god, that's from BioShock.
Yeah, well, BioShock took that sort of zeitgeist of that time and sort of made it its own.
With the creepy music and it in the background and hitting on those record players and freezing.
Right.
And to this day, I hear anything like that, I'm like,
well, and I'm a big fan too of...
I'm really scared right now.
Right.
Somebody half dead is about to pop out of here and eat me. So that's usually how
I'm a huge fan of bad guys. I always have been. My favorite bad guy of all time is Darth Vader. I think he's the most iconic bad guy of all time. But you talk about video game bad guys, and I don't know that there's very many things more scary to me in a video game than a Big Daddy. And just so iconic, the look to it. You had never really seen anything like that. And since then, you've seen people kind of do their own takes on him and stuff like that. The big, burly, strong guy, but he just had such a unique look to him.
Oh, it scared the piss out of me the first time I played the BioShock game, because you gotta get so sneaky and you gotta kill it, and you're like, I don't want to kill it, I'm gonna hide here until he walks away with that little sister with those creepy eyeballs. And you're like, no, I'm gonna sit here, and then you find out, oh, I've got to start killing him for this or that or whatever, and then you're like, God bless.
So Bayonetta, can back that a little bit, but yeah, it's like that where it created its own style.
Yeah.
And it's a very stylish game. The controls
doesn't look
are incredible.
like it. Bayonetta does not look like anything else. Just like BioShock does not look like anything else.
And what happened was, spoiler alert. No, I'm not going to spoil the story or anything. But
if people haven't played Bayonetta by now, there's a statute of limitations on spoilers. Okay,
maybe a year.
Yeah, it's months. It's like The Godfather. Okay, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen The Godfather by now, you need to turn right. Yeah, dead horse. Spoiler alert.
At the end, so I beat Bayonetta, and at the end it unlocks hard mode. It doesn't come with hard mode.
Right.
Normal.
You
is
have
the
to unlock
mode.
it. Right.
It unlocks hard mode and a few other things, but that was cool. I don't have I'm so invested in the older games. I mean, I research them for my books, and I do a ColecoVisions podcast, and I do all this other stuff with retro gaming conventions and everything. So I don't have that much time to beat the newer games. You know, I'll play them, sample them, stuff.
Right.
But when one really grabs me, like God of War and Bayonetta, you know, I'll stick to it to the end. I absolutely that was a phenomenal experience the whole way through. And when I would get frustrated with a level, I would keep playing it and just put it down and come back a little bit later, and then you know, it would be just hard enough.
Just hard enough, right?
You were almost about to give up, and you think nah, and then you keep. So it was a perfect difficulty. You know, never frustrating,
right,
but very challenging, and. But so yeah, and I've got Bayonetta 2 as well, so I think that's the next game I'm going to start.
Yeah, I never played the second one, but yeah, Bayonetta is one of the best.
Plus, you control a female protagonist, so that's right.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of hard video games, the next video game that I'm really looking forward to, I think a lot of are probably on the list for a lot of Reapers. You talk about hard, is the Dark Souls series. Now, I don't know if you have any experience, Brett, with the Dark Souls, Demon Souls series.
I do not.
But this is going to be Dark Souls 3, and it started with Demon Souls, and Demon Souls came out 5, 6 years ago on PS3. At the time, it was a PS3 exclusive, and it's the typical kind of what you picture medieval, you know, dragons and swords and magic and stuff like that. But the whole game series has had the rap of being incredibly difficult. I mean, their initial advertising campaign was "You will die." That was it. Dot.
Right.
That's it. You will die, and you did. And Demon Souls, when that first came out, was the first game. I'm not a rage quitter if I get frustrated.
Right.
I stick with it. I focus. I may put it down for a bit, come back to it. But that game frustrated me so bad because I literally could not figure out how to get past the first level. I kept going down this one hallway, and that's the thing about Demon Souls. They don't hold your hand. There aren't big signs up. Does it go this way? You can go this way, and it can be the wrong way, and you can run into an enemy 20 levels above you, like you're beating your head against the wall, and then you find out, oh wait, there's this other door over here that I should have gone through the whole time.
Right.
And I literally, that's the only game I've ever popped out of the system, opened my window, and I was literally going to chunk it out the window. Literally had it in my hand.
Right.
And I was like, no, there's something to this series. There's something to this game. I haven't figured it out yet. I don't know. And I don't like to read a lot of walkthroughs, and I like to do it myself, you know, learn it myself.
He just doesn't like to read.
And it ended up... It ended up being one of my favorite game series, and now after in Bloodborne, if you count Bloodborne, which was awesome, Bloodborne was one of the best games last year. But now Dark Souls 3 comes out. It came out in Japan last week. It comes out here on the now I don't remember the exact date, but it's a couple of weeks. It comes out a couple of weeks from now. And that's definitely going to be the next one that's going to be on my list. Did you ever get in any of the Dark Souls games, Demon Souls or anything?
No, I didn't.
Nothing
I don't
like
really
that?
do scary stuff real well. If it starts getting a little creepy, BioShock is literally about as scary as I get. And I scream. I would scream.
Then you would scream at Dark Souls, because while Dark Souls is not...
Can you give a sample of how you scream? Can we hear us scream? No?
I've heard it before. I'll try to record it the next time I hear it over the headset with her screaming at something.
With your nanny cam.
Someone in Nom Nom Galaxy that's not doing soup properly or something is usually those things.
That's not screaming.
That
is very politely encouraging to quit doing what you're doing
and do something else.
That's yelling
what
at
I want.
That's
right.
not screaming.
That's not screaming. It's
different.
Two different things.
Right.
Throw me under the bus. Good job, Kurt.
You know what? Whatever I can do is what I'm here for. So anyway.
But yeah, I did do a little bit of research on this because I really don't know anything about the Dark Souls series other than, you know, a few people that we play with Reapers that get really excited about it. But everybody's saying that the first one was super hard and kind of set the standard, and then the second one that came out was really easy.
I would say the way I put it is that Demon Souls was the hardest at the time. We weren't used to a game like that. It was really kind of harken back to a day like now. A lot of games have easy mode. Yeah. Even on the Wii, you can push a thing and zip past a level.
Yeah, and screen prompts.
Yeah,
you what
right.
To do.
Yeah. And Dark Souls was really kind of, or Demon Souls originally, the first one was really kind of a callback, and like we're not going to hold your hand. We're going to throw you out here, and you're going to die until you figure it out.
Right.
That's essentially exactly what it is. And then, but once you know that, once you understand that, you're like, okay, I don't just go charging into dark rooms. That's not smart. Right. I get torches and I light the place up. So once you know that, it's a game you don't fear it, you respect it. You're like, this game, these enemies, you can't just go and just hammer. You got to block, you have to roll, you have to parry, you have to do all these different, so you actually have to do that. So it's not scary, but it is very oppressive. It has that Division kind of feel to it, where that the worlds are all very dark and dim, and you're trudging through a swamp or a castle with no lights, or a mine inside a mountain that's very poorly lit with these horrible enemies. So it's all really oppressive, and you have to kind of fight through it. And it's one of those that I can't play for long periods of time. Sometimes you can sit down and play a game for 2, 3, 4 hours and have get into a marathon, but an hour or two of that, it's just like, I need a shower, or I need to, watch Looney Tunes or something.
The sunshine.
Right, yeah, right. Go take a walk or something.
I
But
had to pee for 2 hours.
I think one of the things that people like too about the Dark Souls series is it has really innovative PvP, which is, it doesn't have like Call of Duty or Battlefield where, team deathmatch, you have 8 on 8 and it's all structured and stuff. This one, if you play online and you're in your own world, you can actually be invaded by another player. If they have a certain relic, they can use that relic and invade your world as a Black Phantom and chase you down, and they get a reward for killing you. You get a reward if you kill them. So it has a really unique PvP element, and I know a lot of Reapers really enjoy that. I really enjoyed it as well, but Demon Souls and Dark Souls were hard. Dark Souls 2 was easier. They tried to kind of make it more for the masses. I think too many people complained and whined about it being too hard. So they maybe half a notch made it a little easier and more accessible, which I get them wanting to do that. But
people are saying now that the Dark Souls 3 is going to be more like...
We're going to get back. That's what I've read too from people that have played it. I know Grilled tried it at EGX at the convention in the UK. Shout out to Grilled, that's right. He tried Dark Souls 3, stood in line for 45 minutes or something to play it for 5 minutes. That's the way it is at those conventions. But he said it was really good and beautiful. The graphic screenshots I've seen of it looks beautiful, and so that's definitely going to be a day one for me. So can't wait for that. And then of course in May we've got Uncharted 4, which that's for a lot of people that's the next big PlayStation game.
The big GameStop midnight release and everything.
Yeah, that's the big. We're going to go camp out and stuff like that. And for the people that haven't tried the Uncharted series, and I still every once in a while run into a Reaper or two, and I'm like, look, if you own a Nintendo system, you've played Super Mario Brothers. That's just the deal. If you own a PlayStation, you have to play Uncharted. That's the thing. Or God of War. That's one of those that that's one of those series that if you own this, you have to play that. It's just the rules. I don't make the rules, okay? It's just the deal. And Uncharted is about as good
Sonic as
and if you own a Sega, you got to play Sonic the Hedgehog, no doubt. So hopefully more and more Reapers will get into Uncharted because it's an amazing series, and it's one of those we talked about that has everything. It has a great story and
it's cool.
Acting and stuff like that. So did you play Uncharted very much? Holy cow. Don't. We really didn't talk about this. Have you never played any of the Uncharted games?
I was an Xbox player. I didn't get into it until...
Let's talk about this for a second.
No,
Jordan is the vice president of a global PlayStation gaming community. She has not played a single one of them. There's been 3 of them.
I played the beta for the third one.
The beta for the... Or as SBB would say, the beta. Did you play the beta? I played the beta for the third one.
For the third one, I did.
What'd you think about the beta for the third one?
It was fun. It was just really cool. But here's the deal with me. I give up. Part of the reason that I play now for sure is because I want to play with other people. And these games that are so single player, like they're cool and everything, but I mean, I can.
That's funny. I'm pretty much the
read.
opposite. I'm a solo gamer for the most part. I mean, I like competitive gaming, just the old games you could play together competitively and stuff, or cooperatively. But I'm kind of a solo. I like to get in on an adventure and just be there.
Well, the nice thing about Uncharted is that Uncharted 1 didn't even have multiplayer. It was all single player, and it has and that's
PS3.
That was PS3, and that's really what the Uncharted series is. It's a story of Nathan Drake and his journey through these adventures. And each one, and each one builds on the last one. With Uncharted 2, they released multiplayer. They're like, okay, we're going to try some multiplayer, and it's fun. And they kind of perfected it in Uncharted 3, and there's some different multiplayer modes and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. But to be honest, the main reason I play Uncharted is for the single player in the story. Yeah. And it's one of those that, so many games now you beat the story and then that's kind of it. You never really go back to it.
Right.
But Uncharted is so compelling and it's so fun and the level design is so good, the gameplay is so good that I will go back and replay the story.
Yeah.
Even though I know what's going to happen,
Right.
I'll go play and replay it. And of all the game reviews I've written in my life, there's only one game that I've ever given a 10 out of 10, what I considered a perfect game, and that's Uncharted 2. I think it has no weaknesses. It has from writing, the directing, the graphics, the gameplay, the level design, the combat, everything.
Man, and Jordan's never played it.
And she's never touched the greatest video game. This is her
10 out of 10 video game.
This is your
Borderlands
10
2.
out of 10.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's my 10 out of
Well,
10.
it's definitely up there.
Just to segue a little bit to just remind you were saying there's lines for all the like these conventions, like there's a big line for the brand new games that come out and stuff. Well, I was at the Texas Pinball Festival recently, let's see, a week ago yesterday, and they were beta testing the new Ghostbusters pinball machine there.
Oh, cool.
And so they had 2 set up, long lines at each of them, and then they also had the Hobbit from Jersey Jack's Pinball, brand new machine, long lines.
Wait a minute, do they beta test pinball machines? Really?
Yeah, well, yeah. Those newer machines are so... Think about a pinball machine. There's a zillion working parts and a lot of optics, a lot of graphics, and
that just never occurred to me.
Yeah. They
would beta test a pinball machine.
Yeah, they do it
I
live.
I know they would test it behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, they do it live
in the factory and stuff.
Well, with pinball is so mechanical and so there's so many variables in a game, and they just have to repetition. They just have to play it over and over and over.
It makes sense.
And different type of players that they just they'll do that for months. Test out. They did that with the Wizard of Oz because they had all kinds of problems with it through the beta test. Balls would get stuck, and they would just have they would have someone from Jersey Jack just standing there at the Wizard of Oz machine
watching
as people were playing, and when a ball would get stuck or when something would
not register right or do something.
Well, they would take off the glass, fix that, and then people would keep playing.
Don't you hate it when the balls get stuck?
I think she's trying to turn this into something.
Anyway, I said I was going to bring this Nerf bat. I don't know if that would be one I'd bong you for, but
thump.
Yeah, maybe just a light. Yeah, just something like that.
No, but yeah. So anyway, that's kind of a segue.
No, that's pretty interesting. I never thought of a pinball beta test before, but I guess it makes sense. They got to test it out. But
yeah, and meanwhile, I'm over here playing all these old games that are you can just walk right up to.
Right.
I don't think. Okay, and this just may be an ignorance on my part. I don't think I realized they were still making new pinball machines.
You're not alone. I mean, it's there used to be a lot number of companies. Now it's down to Stern, and then just recently there's a new company called Jersey Jacks. Jersey Jack has come out with Wizard of Oz and The Hobbit, and maybe one or two others. But
without
really cool.
without a lot of true arcades around anymore, who do they provide for? Like Dave and Buster's, places like that? I mean,
there's
Main Event. I know Main Event.
Pinball's making a resurgence.
Is it?
And some of those kinds of places will buy a machine.
Right.
And there's actually some arcades opening up around the country that are sort of retro, and they'll have new pinball machines. But their
People
biggest
still
audience,
looking for things to do with those kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the beer drinkers. And they sell the most machines to individual collectors. People want them in their homes.
Wow.
I mean, just high end people.
That's cool.
They just want
that would be now that would be really cool. I mean, I'd love to have like a Galaga machine or pinball machine or something like that.
Well, I thought about putting a pinball machine over there, and my son really wanted Galaga, and a friend of mine was moving and had a Galaga for sale, so we just went in halves and picked it up from him, brought it down here from Oklahoma.
That was my favorite.
Great road trip.
That was awesome.
The car even broke down. So it was an awesome road trip. To get the Galaga.
It was worth it though.
Oh,
that's
it's
awesome.
Great. Yeah, it's a great. When we have friends over, or whatever, just fire it up, and it's cool.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the Video Game Museum too? That just
man,
opened?
You were mentioning Gearbox and everything.
Yeah.
Well, Gearbox is a okay. Let me back up a little bit.
Right.
Okay, the National Videogame Museum is opening in Frisco, Texas, which is north of Dallas, on April 2nd. This coming Saturday. Well, this past Saturday, they had invite-only exhibition preview of the museum. And there was, some reporters there, family, friends, and everything. And I was fortunate enough, Joe Santulli, the co-owners, he had me and my son and my wife out, and we just had an incredible time. It's an incredible place. Okay, you walk in, and you are transported back in time. There's a 1980s arcade that takes they've actually got one of those big wide machines you put $1 into and it feeds out tokens.
Yeah, it feeds out tokens, yeah.
And they've got 40 games in there, and like Mappy and Joust and Frogger and Pac-Man and Defender really cool. And all these incredible games, plus some more obscure ones like Zookeeper and Pleiades. And they've got a 1980s bedroom. It's just, with Duck Hunt on the NES setup
right.
and all this other stuff from the 80s. It's like walking into an episode of the Goldbergs. You don't want
to say too fast.
Yeah. It's like walking out, and then they've got a 1970s or 80s, early 80s living room with a laser
I didn't
display
come up with that, by the way.
And a couch and a television you can kick back and play, but it's all very interactive. I mean, they've got extremely valuable, extremely rare stuff like stadium events and Magical Chase for the TurboGrafx and the NWC Gray Cart for the NES. The really rare stuff is behind glass.
Right.
But they've also got a lot of interactive consoles you can sit down and play for free. The arcade just takes, one token a quarter.
Right.
But you can stay. We were there 3 hours, and I could still be there today. I could just live there, and but it's truly incredible. And you're talking about Gearbox. One of the things in the museum is a complete recreation of the president of Gearbox's office, because Gearbox is based in Frisco, like you said. Well, Gearbox was very instrumental in getting the Video Game Museum located in Frisco.
Yeah.
And
I think when we were there, Randy was talking.
He was talking about it a lot. Yeah.
About the music. He was just like stoked.
He donated a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
As well.
They looked all over. The guys, Joe Santulli, Sean Kelly, and John Hardy. They're located northeast. Like Joe Santulli has a store, Digital Press, in New Jersey. His family, they lived in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. Well, he moved to the Colony, which is near Frisco, which, like I said, is north of Dallas. They moved their family down here. The reason they moved to Frisco, the National Museum of Video Game, or the National Video Game Museum is in Frisco, is because the city of Frisco was extremely excited about it. And they donate, they put in money. Mm-hmm. Gearbox was enthusiastic about it. And just the city itself was just and they went all over. They went to New York and California and Florida.
Yeah, I know a lot of people thought it was going to be in California because
they talked about Silicon Valley, and that was a potential, but they liked that Texas is sort of a central location.
Yeah,
but the main thing is just the city of Frisco was very accommodating. I mean, the mayor came to, they're having a big ribbon cutting Friday and everything, so it's a big deal. But it is definitely a tourist attraction. It's something to that you would want to fly from out of state to go to.
Well, I know next month we've got a bunch of Reapers coming out here, and we're planning on taking a field trip out to it. I can't wait.
Well, let me tell you, the two coolest things to me about the museum, if I could pick two, maybe the arcade is the actual coolest. Just actually the upright arcades, just the recreation of the old 80s arcade, like I used to go to. But there's the world's largest Pong machine. It is a Pong machine, just the gigantic screen, and the rotary control you use is about like this, and it's just this huge Pong machine on the wall, and it works perfectly. My son and I played.
Really?
It was very cool. I beat him, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And
good.
I'm old school. He can beat me on the newer games.
Right.
And but anyway,
that's really neat.
Yeah, it's extremely cool. Well, they've also got this one place set up. The one corner of the museum is set up to be like a video game store during the Great Video Game Crash. Mm-hmm. Now, are you familiar? You probably are. Are you familiar with the Great Video Game Crash of 1983?
Yeah.
Right. All that shovelware for the Atari 2600 and
E.T. and all that.
That
killed it.
E.T. didn't kill it. No, people say E.T. killed it, but not single-handedly. It more had to do with just so much shovelware for the Atari 2600, which is why Nintendo put in so many restrictions on third-party software. But yeah, E.T. didn't help. They definitely overproduced it, and the game was confusing to consumers. Some people say it's actually a pretty decent game once you actually learn the rules. But in those days, you didn't want to read the instructions. You didn't want to really figure out the nuances of the game. You want to pick it up and play it, yeah. If they would have made... Here's my theory on the Great Video Game Crash. Okay, if they would have made E.T. a Pac-Man clone, where he goes around gobbling Reese's Pieces instead of dots, and had government agents chasing him within this maze, a simple pick-up and play game with maybe 3 or 4 different kind of mazes, I think that game would have been great, and maybe the game industry might have lasted a little longer, but there were too many other factors, computers,
the economy
Commodore
in general.
64, Commodore 64 was getting really big, and so a lot of people wanted that instead of gaming consoles. That's why so many of those companies were making like computer add-ons to gaming consoles because computers were the wave of the future. But anyway, there's a whole corner set up like they've even got like a big clearance bin with all the old Atari games, marked down to 99 cents and stuff, which is cool to me because literally like in 1983, like I mentioned, I was 16 years old. I just had, I'd just gotten a car, and 83 and 84, I would drive over to stores all over Dallas-Fort Worth buying Atari, ColecoVision, and Television, all these games out of bins, Atari 5200, marked down. They first started marking them down to $9.99. I'd get a few here and there. Then they went down, incrementally 5, 6, 99 cents at the end. And so I would buy, I'd fill holes in my collection, get games I wanted, get some that just kind of looked cool that I didn't know anything about. So I got a ton of those. And like everybody else, I just bought one of each. If I would have known to buy multiple copies of some of this, a lot of the stuff that was in the discount bins.
Do you have a copy of E.T.? Sorry to interrupt. But
yeah, it's a cartridge somewhere. I don't think I have the box. And I've got somewhere around here. I've got a mobile. The big advertisement for the game that was hanging in stores. Yeah,
wow,
that's really
awesome.
Yeah. And but that's funny, that game, since they did that New Mexico dig.
Yeah.
That's Atari Game Over, I think, is the name of the documentary.
Yeah.
Well, ever since they've done that dig and the publicity for digging up ET, the game has gone up in price.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
It was, you used to get the cartridge for $1 or $2, and the box, the complete game you could get for $7 or $8. Well, the game, the box complete, I think it peaked at like around $40 or $50 at one point, and now it's coming back down.
Right.
And the cartridge was selling for $15, $20. But it's definitely leveling off. But a lot of the stuff that was in the bargain bins was the third-party stuff that was junk. But now the third-party stuff, a lot of it's hard to find. And so those are the games that were, they were clearancing out for 99 cents, $2.99, are now the ones that are worth a ton of money.
Well, one of the things we've got to do sometime, I've done this myself, and we talked a little bit when I interviewed you a while back about your book, but one of the things we're going to have to do on the podcast is talk about some of this stuff, because I know you've got tens of thousands, I would assume. I don't remember what the number is.
I've got a mini museum in here.
Yeah, mini museum. We're going to have to show some of these and talk about all the different systems you have and different games you have and stuff like that, because it's just amazes me every time I walk in.
I made one crucial mistake. I've kept all the games I used to have growing up, but I made two big mistakes. One time I sold all my handhelds in a garage sale. By handheld, I mean the old Mattel.
Yeah. The football, the green football game and all that.
But I had space games, other sports games, all this stuff. And for some reason, one day I decided I didn't need them and I needed some money. This is probably around 85, 86 when I was dating and had a car and drinking a lot of stuff. And so I decided, I needed party money, I guess.
Right.
But I sold all that stuff. I regretted it almost immediately, thinking those are really cool. I just had them in a drawer somewhere. But, anyway. The other big mistake I made, I still have all my cartridges and game systems from back in the day, but I threw out all my ColecoVision boxes. And I thought, I need more shelf room and all this stuff. And around probably 88, 89, I threw away about 80 boxes for my ColecoVision games. And I probably, $5,000-$6,000 worth of stuff.
No telling what that's worth.
Yeah,
now.
so.
Gosh.
But, who knows? Who knew then?
Right. You never know.
I'm just glad I didn't get rid of all my old cartridges. I have all
Never
my
throw
NES
your
boxes
boxes
because by then I was keeping them and stuff. So, but I've got a lot of box stuff that I just paid pennies on the dollar for. That's worth now I'm like looking at eBay. I'm like, maybe I should sell some of this.
Really?
I was like, no, I like it. I don't want to sell it.
No, hang on to it now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all we've got for this week. So either you guys have anything else you want to throw in there? Anything?
Well,
anything
one other, just real quick, I've been playing a lot of Star Fox Zero for the Wii U.
Oh, yeah?
That's coming out sometime in April. Unlike Jordan, I didn't make notes, but next time I will, so I don't remember exactly when it's coming out. So, but that's been fun. It's got one thing where you have to, toggle the gun sight, or you have to, like in mid-flight, you'll have to recalibrate that, and that seems like that could have been fleshed out in the development, where it's just. But other than that, it's been a fun game, and it kind of sticks to the basic pattern of the Star Fox 64, same type of game, roughly the same characters, some new vehicles and things. But what's cool about it is playing on widescreen, with high def.
Right.
It's just opens up Star Fox to a more intergalactic type experience. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I haven't played Star Fox, but I used to like Star Fox. I think the GameCube is the last one I played.
Yeah, that was like an adventure sort of
Yeah,
Same, like
different
Fox
type of
McCloud
deal,
is more of like a third-person adventure.
Yeah, something like that.
Game.
Yeah, there was a lot of flying in it and stuff like you're used to with Star
It goes
Fox.
back to Star Fox, 1993, Super Nintendo, the original one with the FX graphics. You know,
Oh,
the very like polygonal, very blocky polygonal graphics.
Right.
Anyway, I like, so that's proof I do play new games.
Yeah,
I'm
you
playing
do.
a game that hadn't even come out yet.
Right, exactly.
I'm playing games of the future.
Catch
up.
When does it come out? When does Star Fox come out?
I didn't make notes like Jordan, so I don't remember.
See,
Sometime in April.
We're not
later
all like
April.
Jordan.
I'm not allowed to put on like any video of the game
Official,
until April 5th.
Right, yeah,
April
you got
5th,
an embargo.
I can put on, so I might do that on my YouTube channel. And which, by the way, Brett Weiss, BrettWeiss. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel or just watch some videos, you can check it out.
Okay. And then your blog is
BrettWeissWords.com, just BrettWeiss words.com, and that has links to all my books for sale and other articles you can read for free. So
awesome.
check it out.
And then, of course, you can follow us at HoldSquare.com like we talked about. This is Jordan Aaron. I'm Outlaw Curtis saying goodbye. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like what you see. We're going to have more content, and you can check out HoldSquare.com for more information, video game reviews, updates, news, and so forth. And we'll see you next time.
Game on.